Do I have a story for you today? I am going to try and get through this without laughing too much, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I wanted to share an experience I had recently on a first date. And I'm sure if it does nothing else, this story will make you feel better about the dates that you are having. Welcome to the Date with Confidence podcast, a place to come for dating advice, support, and stories that'll either fill you with hope or relief that your dating experience wasn't as bad as it could have been. With practical episodes that'll provide you with easy to implement tips to help you feel confident AF on your next date, alongside lighthearted catch-ups where your host Rebecca, that's me by the way, shares her own experience dating after 4 years of the single life. You are guaranteed to end each episode feeling less alone in your dating struggles, empowered to never settle again, and confident that the best is yet to come. And if it all falls to shit, there's a special first season dedicated to breakups. You are welcome, my friend. Subscribe, review, and share with your single friends. If you've listened to the Am I Delusional episode, you'll know that I'd been seeing someone for a few weeks, really liked him, thought it was going to go somewhere, and then got the message to say changed his mind. Now, a day after I got that message, or 2 days after I got that message, I got the message on the Wednesday, and by the Friday I was like, get me back on the apps. I am not losing sleep over this guy. I'm getting myself straight back on that horse because otherwise it's going to turn into a whole big thing that it doesn't need to be. So I start chatting to a few people on the Friday. On the Sunday, this guy that I've been chatting to messages me and says, when are you free so I can take you on a date? Now, first of all, the way this message was worded was hot. It was certain. It was, I'm going to take you out. This is what I want to do. Like, when are you free so I can take you out? It was very assertive, and it was like for me, it came across very confidently. There was no ambiguity. There was no, maybe we should get a drink. There was no, maybe we should meet in real life. It was, I want to take you out. And I liked that. I liked the assertiveness. So we talked for a few days, and the following Thursday, so this is 8 days after I get the message, I'm going on this first date, and I'm like, great. I spend a couple of hours getting ready. Actually, that's a lie. I start getting ready on the Wednesday because I do all my fake tan on the Wednesday. Then on the, I think I did my fake tan on the Tuesday actually. Do my fake tan on the Tuesday. Get ready on the Thursday, spend a couple of hours getting ready. And this guy, like, we've been chatting back and forth for a week. He seemed like a genuinely nice guy. He was probably a bit more on the kind of like geeky, nerdy side, which my best friend is like, you've got to date a nerd, you've got to date a nerd. I'm like, I'm open to that. I find geekiness very attractive. So I'm like, I'm open to this. He's a nice guy. He's got his shit together. He's got an apartment. He's got a good job. Like, he is a man. He's got his shit together. This is going to be exciting. I'm not going for any dickheads. I'm just going for a genuinely nice guy. Well done me for stepping outside of my comfort zone. So we're talking about where we're going to go. He plans the date. He tells me what the plan is. He's like, right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to mini golf, and then we're going to go to dinner. I'm like, oh my God, great. I love that you have organised all this. He says, why don't we meet at the station? We already know my feelings about meeting at the station. It is a massive thumbs up for me because then you can do the stroll to the venue where you're kind of breaking the ice a bit. You've not got the full-on eye contact. You're getting to know them a little bit on the walk. Great. Absolutely perfect. He tells me where to meet him. I'm like, oh, I don't actually know where that is. What exit do you mean? So he goes on Google Street View, screenshots where we're going to meet, and sends me the photo so that I'm not confused and like a deer in headlights when I come out of the station. Bonus, massive bonus. He's asked me out in a nice way. He sent me screenshots of the place we're going to meet, and he's organised the date. Like, things are looking promising. Really promising. But that is where it ended. So I come out of the station, see him. He's standing where he told me he would be standing. And when I look, bearing in mind it's a Thursday evening, it's London, it's busy, I've spent 2 hours getting ready. He stood there in jersey shorts, as in like tracksuit bottom shorts, a hoodie, and a pair of trainers. Now, I'm trying very hard not to be judgmental. Very hard. And I'm like, well, maybe we can overlook this. But at the same time, I've spent a couple of hours getting ready. I have made an effort for this date that you wanted to take me on. I've put in time and energy. I bought a new top. I look fucking good. And you've shown up in a hoodie and trainers. And I tried to take some deep breaths and just be like, do you know what? Give the guy the benefit of a doubt. Give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's just his style. Fine. So we start walking to the venue. And he's like, oh, I haven't booked it because I didn't think it'd be that busy. We get there and it's rammed because it's a Thursday night and we're in London and everyone's just finished work. Which is fine. We managed to get into the golf anyway. We get in straight away. It's not a problem. The golf thing was really cool and I really liked the idea of doing something like that. As I've said to you before, I love it when you meet at the station, you do an activity and then you go for dinner. Although, having said that, my dating preferences may be changing because of this date. Because I feel like, well, you'll know why in a minute. So we're playing golf and we're kind of like, I'm in my like over enthusiastic, I'm going to have such a good time. I'm going to like put on a big smile. I'm going to be like cheery and positive and I'm on a date and this is exciting and I want to give a good impression. I'm making an effort. And I win at mini golf because I'm brilliant. No, the course was like relatively easy. It's like 9 holes and it's actually quite small. So you do move around quite quickly. And we were stuck behind a group of people that had just come out of work, but they let us go in front and that was fine. And we're kind of, yeah, we're playing the game. It's fine. But whilst I'm in there, we then like end up behind another group of people that are obviously work colleagues. And there's this guy in a suit, which suits anyway. There's this guy in a suit and he's looking really fit. And he keeps catching my eye and I keep catching his eye. And I'm like, this is not a good sign. Like, I'm trying my hardest not to check out this other guy while I'm on the date with this one. I'm like, okay, this is bad. Part of me is like, I have to rein this in because it's really disrespectful to be checking out someone else. The other part of me is like, how can I get my number to this guy because he's really hot and he's definitely more my type. I ignore the suit guy. We finish playing the game. I win. I'm over the moon. Then it's like, okay, where are we going to go to eat? And he's like, oh, we could go around here. We could go here. Let's go back to, it's a place called Italy. I've not been there before. I'd never heard of it. I'd not been there before. And he was like, how can you love Italian food and never have heard of this place? And I was like, well, let's go there then. So we go and he's like, it's a like supermarket, but there's restaurants in there as well. It's a weird little place, but it's quite cool. So we go in, we find this little restaurant that's in there and I say like, oh, can we have a table for 2, please? And the guy behind the counter goes, I can seat you at 8:15. And I'm like, oh, like, what's the time? And he looks at his watch, looks at me and goes, oh, and he just shows the watch to me, like holds the watch in front of my eyes rather than just saying like, this is really hard to explain on the podcast, but it was a really awkward moment. Rather than just be like, oh, it's 20 to 8, let's go somewhere else. He goes, oh, and just wafts his like wrist in front of my face. So I'm like, okay, well, like, what does that mean? Like, you want to go somewhere else? And he's like, yeah, I think we're better. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. We can go somewhere else. Let's go to Spitalfields. Let's go somewhere else. And we walk a bit further. And as we're walking through this supermarket, he says, did you want to do any shopping while you're here? Like, is there anything you want to get while we're here? Do you want to pick some bits up? And I'm like, what? No, I'm fine. I'm on a fucking date. I've spent 2 hours getting ready. I don't want to do supermarket shopping right now. Are you joking? But obviously don't say that because that's rude. And so I just go, no, like, I'm fine. And he's like, okay. So we walk a bit further and we find the exact same restaurant in a different part of the place that we're in. And that place has got free tables. So I'm like, oh, should we just try here? So we ask for a table for two, get seated immediately. The first thing he does when he sits down is wobble the table and makes a comment about the fact that the table's wobbly. And I'm just like, oh, I can't be dealing with this. Like, by this point, I'm already kind of checked out because of the couple of things, the lack of effort made on his part in terms of what he's wearing. There's just a few things that I'm already like, oh, I don't think this is going to go well. And we sit down at the table wobbles, and I'm like, oh, I can't. And then the waitress comes over and says, can I get you some still water? Can I get you some sparkling water? And he goes, no, we'll just have tap water. And I'm like, that's fine. I drink tap water all the time. I drink tap water with my friends. I drink tap water when I go out with my mum. Like, I'm not opposed to tap water, other than when you're on a first date. I think you need to make a bit of an effort. Like, you've told me you want to take me out. Make some effort. Try and impress me. Put on, like, your best show, whatever. And it's different if you order another drink and then you order tap water. If you go, oh, I'll have a Diet Coke and can we get a jug of tap water for the table? That's fine. But you've ordered us a jug of tap water. And I'm like, okay, let's not be stuck up about this. Like, let's not be judgmental. But it was another ick for me. And then the waitress comes over, she pours the water, and I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And she's like, do you know what you want? So we order our food. I'm like, thank you, give the menus back, thank you so much. He doesn't acknowledge the wait staff, which is a massive deal to me. I've worked in hospitality, I've worked as a waitress, I've worked as a bartender. It is common decency to acknowledge the staff that are serving you. Even if I'm in the middle of the conversation with someone and a waiter or a waitress comes over and pours me a drink or tops my drink up or takes my plate or asks if I want anything else, I look up and I acknowledge them. Even if I'm mid-conversation, I'll be mid-sentence and be like, oh, thank you. Because that is the polite thing to do. So that's kind of a bit annoying as well. So we sit down at the table. And it's not until we sit down that I notice something. All I can hear and see is sniffing. Sniffing constantly. Like every 20 to 30 seconds, it's sniffing. And when he's not sniffing, he's playing with his nose. He's playing with his nose, he's picking his nose, he's touching his nose, he's sniffing. And I can't handle it. When people pick their nose, it bothers me so much. So much. And so I'm trying to hold a conversation with him whilst maintain some eye contact, because I'm very good at having a conversation with someone. I'm very good at eye contact. I'm very good at listening. I can hold a conversation. The conversation isn't flowing. I mean, it's flowing-ish, but I couldn't tell you what we talked about. Like, that's how good the conversation was. I have no idea what we even talked about, because all I'm thinking is stop touching your fucking nose. And then he touches it again. And at this point, there is a green bogey sat on the tip of it. Now, I cannot deal with snot and bogeys. I would rather deal with shit than bogeys. And I have a 2-year-old niece called Lily, and I love her to death. Like, I would do anything for her, but I cannot handle her bogeys. And this kid sneezes on me all the time. She's weed on me. She's pooed on my bedroom floor. She's done a lot of stuff, and I can cope with that. But bogeys are not my thing, let alone from a stranger that I am sat opposite on a first date, about to eat some food. I could not handle it. I couldn't. By this point, all I'm thinking is, oh my God, I want to fucking heave. I can't handle it. And I can't even say to him, you've got something on your nose. Because to get the words out of me, I want to gag. I cannot talk about it. It made me feel horrendous. And then our meals get brought over. So I've got pasta, he's got a pizza. meals get brought over. And then he goes to the waiter. And I'm not really like concentrating. I'm just like, I need to eat this food so I can like get up and leave. And he goes to the waiter. Evidently he orders a drink, but I'm not aware that he's ordering a drink because I'm eating. And then the waiter's like disappeared. And then he goes to me, oh, I thought you would have ordered a drink then. And I was like, sorry, what? He's like, well, I thought you would have ordered a drink. I just ordered a drink. And I was like, well, I didn't know that's what you were doing. Because normally, if I was going to order a drink, if I was out with someone, I'd order a drink and I'd go, oh, do you want anything? Do you want to order anything? I would like check in with the person that I'm with and be like, what are you going to get? But that didn't happen. It was just afterwards. It was, oh, I thought you would have ordered a drink. And I was like, no, I didn't know that was what was going on. But fine. And then we're talking as we're eating and he's using a knife and fork with his pizza, which is fine. I can't judge that because when I went on my first date with the delusional guy, I ate my pizza with a knife and fork there. But that was purely because I hadn't had any hand sanitizer and I hadn't washed my hands since I'd been on the tube or played the ping pong. So I didn't want to get the germs there. But this guy's eating pizza with a knife and fork. And then cuts the crust off and comments on the fact that I've finished my dinner so much quicker than him. And so that's why he's not eating his crust, because I've finished. I didn't really get it. I didn't get it. And then the waitress is like, oh, like, do you want any dessert? And still, like, the acknowledgement for, like, when our plates are taken away, when our drinks are filled up, there's no acknowledgement. There's no thank you. There's no smile. There's no nod. The wait staff are not acknowledged and it pisses me off. So then I'm like, oh no, I don't think I could do a dessert. I'm like, I'm just going to go to the toilet. So I go to the toilet, I get in there, obviously check my phone because that's what you do on dates. And the girls have messaged me and one of my friends is like, oh my God, Rebecca's on her date. She's not given us a code word. And all I can think is, I need a fucking code word right now. I go to the toilet and I realise it's literally been 2 hours. And all I can think is, how can I get home as quick as possible because I cannot handle this. So I go back to the table and as we're sat there, he starts sniffing his wrists. He starts sniffing his wrists. And I think he says, if you can smell cloves. And I'm like, what? I'm like, sorry? He's like, if you can smell cologne. I'm like, oh. He's like, well, if you can smell cologne, it's because I was shopping and then this woman like sprayed it on me and I just keep smelling it and I don't wear cologne and it's just weird. And I was like, no, like I can't smell anything. But okay. And then he just carries on sniffing his wrists. And then I'm just like, I just can't handle it. I can't handle it. And so we do like a little bit of small talk. And then I'm like, well, I've got such a busy day tomorrow and I haven't slept properly and I really need to get an early night. And then he's like, oh, should we get the bill? I'm like, yeah, I think we should get the bill. So I asked the lady for the bill. She brings it over to us. I'm like, oh, thank you very much. She puts it kind of, it's in the middle, but it's probably a little bit more to him. And then the bill's on a clipboard. It's on a little wooden clipboard. And he gets the clipboard in front of him. And he starts to push it backwards and forwards across the table. And he's like, oh, now's the test. Like, who's going to get the bill? What are we going to do about the bill? And in my mind, I'm like, you've asked me out on a date. You've told me you want to take me out. I assume that you want to take me out means you want to pay for our date. But it's fine, and I know that I'm never going to see this guy again. So I'm like, well, we'll split it. Like, let's split it in half. Like, that's fine. And he's like, oh, well, I did get the golf. I did pay for the mini golf. So I'm like, oh, I mean, I can get it. I'm like, I'll get it. I'll just pay for it all then. Like, I can get it. Bearing in mind, the mini golf was like 25 quid and this is like 40 plus quid dinner. But let's not worry about prices because it doesn't matter. So I'm just like, well, I'll get dinner, it's fine. And he's like, oh, no, I didn't mean that. Like, I'm happy to pay for the golf. Like, I suggested it. And I'm thinking, well, you suggested the whole fucking date, so I assumed you were going to pay for the whole lot, but it's fine. Let's split the bill. So I'm like, let's just split it in half. Like, don't worry about just whatever. We will split it in half. That's fine. And he's like, oh, we'll do the modern thing. So waitress comes over, pay the bill. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. As we're leaving, thank you very much to everyone. Me, obviously, he continues. I mean, he's behind me at this point. I'm like, I need to run as quick as I can. And then we get to the escalator as we're leaving. And I've obviously rushed ahead, so he's about 3 steps above me on the escalator. And I'm like, I can't just stand with my back to him because that's fucking rude. So I turn around to talk to him. And then all I can think is, oh my Christ, all I can see is up his fucking nose. He's still sniffing. He's still touching his nose. I cannot handle this. And I'm like, why? Like, if you know that you're feeling a bit snotty, or you've got the urge to play with your nose, make your excuses. Be like, oh, I'm just going to pop to the toilet. Go to the toilet, sort your nose out, come back. No? That not what we do? So, thank God the station was like really close. It was just like a few minutes away. Like probably less than. So he comments on the speed of my walking as I'm walking away. I'm like, oh, this is actually really slow for me. I get to the station and I'm like, well, I'm going to have to fucking hug him, aren't I? Because I hugged him on the way here. I can't just not hug him now. And the whole time I'm like, I better not have a fucking bogey on me when I've finished hugging him. Oh my God, I can't. So I like give him like the quickest of hugs and I'm like, okay, well, have a nice evening. I'll text you when I get home. And I literally turn and run because I'm just like, I can't, like, I'm just not here for making small talk or even giving you an inkling that we might kiss or anything like that. I'm like, I'm gone, I'm done. I checked out an hour, probably like 20 minutes into the date, I probably checked out. But I wanted to give it time. As I said, he was a nice guy, but he was not for me for many reasons. And it's really hard because I do feel like he is a nice guy and I don't want to be a dick by obviously talking in detail about how bad this date was. But at the same time, like, make an effort. Like, make an effort on the date. And here's the thing, like, I won't be the best date for everyone when I've gone out. I'm sure that I've been on dates where someone hasn't been impressed with me, although thinking back to the dates that I've had, I don't think that's actually the case. But there will be occasions where we go on a first date and the guy is just not impressed with me at all. And that is absolutely fine. There will be someone out there for him that can accept sniffing and hoodies and picking his nose at the dinner table. There will be someone out there that hasn't got the standards that I have got. And that's fine. But this was just not for me. So I get on the train. And at this point, I've got 54 missed messages from the group chat because I've been away for 2 hours. So the group chat is popping off. And the girls are like, how was the date? And I'm like, well, I needed a fucking code word. And I was like, it was fine. He was nice enough, but convo felt boring, didn't really flow. He sniffed constantly, picked his nose a bit, ordered tap water and asked what we were going to do about the bill. And he had shorts, trainers and a hoodie on. I feel like it was a waste of an outfit. I looked good today. And then they were like, I mean, I said to them, like, it was a bit annoying because I'd kind of gone on this date thinking it's okay because the delusional guy that I'd spoke to before, that I'd been seeing for a couple of weeks, I was like, it's fine. There are other guys out there that want to date me. This is going to be a good date. I'm going to go. I'm going to have a nice time. It's going to take my mind off of this other guy. Just to almost be like, there are plenty more fish in the sea. I don't need to worry about it. But I was like, do you know what? It actually sucked because I was really hoping that the date would be good enough to forget about the other good dates that I had. But it kind of highlighted how good my previous dates were, which is fine because I feel like now I've had bad dates, and because I had those really good dates with a delusional guy, I feel like I'm not going to let my standards drop below that again, which I think is needed. Like, I've been single for 4 years. I've just got back into the dating game. I need to date a lot of different people. I need to experience a lot of different dates to work out what's a good date, what's a bad date, what I enjoy. And at the end of the day, no date is a bad date because it's content for you guys. So you get to hear something funny at least. But it wasn't for me. And I went home that night, started chatting to a couple of other guys, and I've got another date on Tuesday. I've got 2 dates this week. I've got one on Tuesday with a guy who I don't actually know a lot about. We've not really spoken. He just asked me out and I was like, yeah, great. I would much rather do this because then we can chat in person. And then another guy who I feel like is, I don't know, the conversations that we were having on Thursday were a bit more flirty. And for me, they were a bit more alarm bells, this is a fuck boy kind of conversations, which I'm here for, you know? I'm here for it. I'm having fun. I don't need Mr. Right at the moment. I'm very content with finding Mr. Right now. That will not be a problem. And I think I'm seeing him at the end of the week. So there are still fish out there. Got to kiss a lot of frogs, I suppose. But that was my date. That was my date. So yeah, I wish the guy all the best. Oh, and I should probably tell you what happened afterwards. So then I get home. And when I get home, I've got a message from him saying, I'm home. Thank you for a near perfect date. Let me see what the message said. Hope you got home okay. I just did. Thank you for a near perfect evening. Minus points for me losing at mini golf, but plus points for you looking so happy about it. And then I saw that message and was like, oh my God, I'm such an arsehole. Because that was a really sweet thing to say. And all I've been like is, get me the fuck home. And I was just like, I'm home. Sorry about your loss. Thanks for a good evening. And then he messaged me back again and I ignored it because I went to bed. And I'd already said like the next day, I had a really packed day with my mum. Like we were getting up early, we were going to London, we had a full schedule planned. So I didn't reply to him in the morning. And I was also like, I need to let this guy down sooner rather than later. Although having said that, at this point, he hadn't asked me out on another date or anything. We hadn't discussed having another date. So I also didn't really know where he stood. But I was like, I need to let him down sooner rather than later. But also, I'm not going to do it in a rush as I'm trying to leave the house. So I get a message from him on the Friday afternoon and ignore it for a few hours because, as I said, I'm out with my mum. And then I'm just like, I'm still out. How's your day been? And then by the time I get home that evening, I've got a migraine. So I'm like, I just have to go to bed. Obviously messaged me back and I don't reply until Saturday morning. And I just messaged and was like, got a migraine, went straight home to bed. And then I was like, I've been reflecting on our date and whilst I had a good time. And I had to say this, didn't I? I couldn't be like, I had a shit time, you were a bad date. Like, that's rude. I still want to be nice about it. So I was like, I've been reflecting on our date and whilst I had a good time, I don't feel like there's a connection on my side. I don't want to mislead you or waste either of our time. All the best for the future. Because that's the kind thing to do. And then his response made me feel bad because he was like, I'm sorry to hear that. I would have loved some more time to get to know you, but how you feel is how you feel. I wish you all the best, which was a very sweet response. And I appreciate the nice response. But yeah, that was that. Now I've got other dates lined up. So it's all fun and games. It's all fun and games. I'm really enjoying this steady flow of dating. Although I feel like I can only really handle like 2 people at a time, like 2. Maybe I could chuck in a third. But when it comes to like conversing, I'm not really into speaking a lot. I'd much rather just meet someone. So when like the guy I'm seeing tomorrow, when he's just like, we must have had like less than 10 messages between each other. Like, I don't know what he does. Well, actually, no, maybe he told me what he does. I can't remember. But I don't know really anything about him. I know he's got dogs in his profile, which everyone loves a dog, right? I really don't know much about him. But he was like pretty quickly like, should we meet for some drinks? Like, maybe we should meet for drinks. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, that's nice. I'd rather do that because I don't want to waste my time and energy. Kind of a bit like how, like, Thursday's date, like, nose-picking guy, we had talked a lot in the week leading up to that date. So we'd been back and forth a lot. We'd had long messages. We'd been talking like pretty consistently. But then the date was shit. So it was like, well, what was the point of me putting all that effort into those messages in the like beforehand? So yeah, I'd much rather just go on a date. So that was that date for you. I hope that this made you laugh in some ways. And I would love to hear your dating stories, whether you've got an amazing date story where it was like the best date of your life, whether you've got a shit date story like the one that I've just shared. Tell me your biggest icks, tell me your red flags, share anything with me. If you go to datewithconfidencepodcast.com/contribute, you've got a form there that you can fill out. You can do it anonymously, so you don't have to leave your name if you don't want to. But I would love to hear from you because I really want to build more of a community around this podcast. And to do that, I need you, dear friend, to write in with your own stories. So, hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to check the show notes for resources. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for listening to the Date with Confidence podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Subscribe, rate and review, and share it with your single friends.